Chef Talk with Kyle Cherek is brought to you by the following presenting sponsors: Schwanke Caston Jewelers and Tag Heuer Watches, Reliable Water Services. For this episode of Chef Talk with Kyle Cherek, I connect with Dan Jacobs of the new restaurant Wolf Beach. Dan's no veteran to opening restaurants. This is his fifth, but he had taken the reins of Roots just a month or two before the rug was pulled out from underneath him, and the whole restaurant world was in question as to what would happen with this location. This is very daunting for a chef. He's got to reinvent a well-loved wheel. Roots had done things that were prescient for the city, an herb garden nearby, an unironic vegetarian menu, a thoughtfulness about ingredients before the term farm to table had even come onto people's vocabulary. How do you take something like that and make it loved even more? They're going to do it with a simple menu, things from the European palate that was begun to expand about 600-700 years ago. I think a little finesse. When we caught up, he was full of temerity and I think a little fear of opening this restaurant and the daunting task ahead of him for the eating public. It's Chef Talk with Kyle Cherek and Chef Dan Jacobs from Wolf Beach. When you met with Dixon and everybody else while you were pulling us together, be honest, were there times in the meeting like, yeah, that'll sell. Yes, people will love that. Or did you get to drive the ship?
It was a very much give and take. I don't have a problem with people telling me what I'm thinking is wrong, or with basically like, all right, we cooked this dish and it's not right. We need to tweak it a little bit. I'm not going to start freaking out, throwing my hands up in the air and being like, I quit. It was very much a give and take between everybody. And
so your Gordon Ramsay is handled. Your inner Gordon Ramsay.
I have. I'm not crazy. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I think it shows in how, when we were talking about how we wanted the menu to be driven, and I think it just works. When you stepped into Paul's shoes with Roots, this was a really loved property with some diehards that even if you'd had an off night serving cold dog shit, they would have come back the next weekend because they loved what Roots stood for and what it did. Not that you had that. No. I'll tell you what my biggest fear was. My biggest fear, Paul's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
My biggest fear was falling below the level that him and Lisa had put up there.
Right.
Like, him and Lisa had made this place what it was. I mean, it was a Zagat rated 29 food. I inherited that. I didn't make it 29. They did.
Dude, that's pressure.
They did.
That's like having someone move cross country for you.
Yeah.
And saying you'll be happy here.
I mean, I was having a great time being their sous chef. And then all of a sudden one day, I got a phone call and it was like, "You're going to be the executive chef," and I'm like, "No!" I was like, "Okay." I had done it. I had done this job before, and I was like, "Okay, I can do this," but taking it over from a person like that was definitely not the easiest thing to do, and plus these are my best friends. And
right.
It's like,
personally, you didn't want to.
Personally, I didn't want to step on anybody's toes, and it was funny because there was a long conversation about, is this going to be okay? And it was absolutely like I would not have taken the job if it wasn't for Paul and Lisa's blessing, letting me take the job. Roots was the beginning, and now we're the fruit of that. So we're evolving up to this.
You, my friend, are a beauty school dropout. As far as you came to be an accredited chef.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean as much. Culinary school.
To people that haven't seen Grease?
People don't realize that culinary school is not the end-all be-all. Basically, you go to culinary school, they give you the basics, but then you're going to go work someplace anyways, and they're going to tell you how they want you to do it.
Was having a really cruel, beat the hell out of you chef formative for you? Did you have somebody like that?
Yeah, we all did. Yes and no. I mean, a lot of times it just made you realize what not to do when you get into that position.
Right. I had a lit professor that said, read bad poems.
I mean, you really do learn like how it just doesn't work. And especially today's day and age, it doesn't work. It might have worked 15 years ago, 20 years ago, yelling and screaming and throwing things at people. I mean, I worked for those guys. My first two chefs were like that. They were very much yellers, screamers, throwing things. But it was never, you just kind of realize like, hey man, this is not what I want to do. Like, I don't want to be that guy when I get in that position. It's much better to show someone, to teach them in a calm way than it is for you to freak out. A chef wears many hats. You have to be able to cook, you have to be able to teach, you have to be able to manage the business side of a kitchen. I mean, there are things like your margins of error are this big in a restaurant.
Because margins are so trim.
You just have, there's not, people don't realize opening up a restaurant, you're not going to be rich. There's a couple few that might, but in reality, you're just, you're gonna make a living, but you got to be careful with how you make that living. And I think that's the number one reason why people who never have worked in a restaurant, open a restaurant, end up failing in the first year.
You're kind of art and science, because Dixon's handling the feel and the look and the story,
Sure.
and you get to do the kitchen. Are you keeping a lot of staff?
We kept almost all the staff.
Yeah.
We only lost, even from the front of the house, I mean, we really kept.
That's the
a lot of staff.
hemoglobin.
What's really nice is the fact that the staff wants to come back. I think that was a big thing.
That's true.
I think it really shows that what we did was we tried to do the right thing here. We always tried to, I always take care of my staff. I try to get them the days off they need, even though it's detrimental probably to my own well-being. I don't cook everything. My staff does it. My staff does most of my. It's like people like to think the chef's back there cooking every little piece of everything. No, man, that's about training. You train your staff how to do stuff. They take care of you. My staff has my back. I wish I could be back there cooking everybody's little dish. I mean, everything goes through my hands eventually at some point, but it's really my staff who keeps me up. It's like when you see me when I'm on the cover of Gray's or I'm talking to you, the reason is because of those guys doing their job.